Yeah, the tomorrow golf league is going to have to wait until at least tomorrow and then some.
And by tomorrow, we mean 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, how you living? It's No Putts Given. We got a super close-up start here today with Tony's face. It's an AI1 world. We're just living in it. I'll give you that.
Putt smarter.
Yeah, putt smarter.
Putt more smartly.
Things. Happy Turkey Week. I hope everybody gets a lot of tryptophan, naps, and watching football. That's what this guy's going to be doing. But
metric or imperial?
Probably both. Both, but largely imperial. Mm-hmm. I hope. Tiger's back. Hero World Challenge, Tony. Tiger is the needle. We know he's the needle. Do you remember when you said we weren't going to see him till 2024 at the earliest? You were wrong.
I guess I was wrong.
Yep, you were wrong. What are your expectations? So he's going to be back. He announced Hero World Challenge again, Tiger's event in the Bahamas. It's not like the most competitive event in the world, right? It's, but he's going to be back.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately, like, who cares how competitive it is if Tiger is back?
Right.
So I think this is going to get more eyeballs than 90+% of PGA Tour tournaments probably within the last year. Because of the Tiger factor. Let's see. Is he okay? He's back, but how back? How does he look? How's he playing?
And
does he have a new TaylorMade driver in play? Many questions. So many questions.
We are going to talk about that in a little bit.
He's probably not going to putt smarter.
He will not putt smarter. No, he will. We'll see. But I think it's good. Again, everything's better in golf when Tiger's back, in my opinion. So I'm happy to see it. Big fun. Whew. Finally, the end of the season that will never end, the PGA Tour.
I was shocked to find out it wasn't over like 6-8 weeks ago. But again, we know I don't pay the closest attention to these things, but I would have bet money.
And it's a weird year because of the transitioning between schedules and resetting events and who gets into which events. And so finally, exhale. We know who the top 125 are, those things, etc. This guy, Ludwig Aberg. There's ways to say it that I'm not.
I think it's more of an than an A. Aberg. Yeah.
If you look on the PGA Tour, I believe they have, when they do it alphabetically, I think they had to put in a different letter for him. So he is now the only person under the letter A, which is awesome. This dude's obviously, should be a superstar in the making. Played
this guy
tremendously.
Is already historically world-class, famous. And I looked into this. You know how I know? Like, you want proof how big Ludwig Aberg is?
I want proof. Give me the data.
If you go into Google and you start typing Ludwig, you would think, you're right, you would think Ludwig von Beethoven would come up first, but not on my Google. No, sir. Aberg. He is basically already, how long has he been around? It feels like 6 weeks, but he is already the number one Ludwig in history. So, based on Google.
At least according to Tony's search history on Google. which we don't need to dive into that any further. That's good enough. But, again, as we're wont to do from time to time, we do take a look inside the bag of winners, not because we think it's what we should be playing or anybody else. It's more for curiosity, like, hey, does this tell us anything interesting that we could possibly relate to the equipment space? And with his bag, kind of.
When you say his, are we talking Oberg?
I'm still talking Ludwig.
Oberg, not von Beethoven, right?
No, I have no idea what von Beethoven.
Let's make this interesting.
Right. Yeah, that could get wild. But he's a Titleist guy, so not a lot of surprises on driver, TSR2, irons, except that he does have a 718 TMB still in there in that 2-iron slot.
Get that seems second swing?
I mean, this 2-iron slot seems to be another one of these like unreal, like, again, Brooks Koepka, the vapor, right? The blue vapor, like this. That spot seems
anything from like even, but like you get old 3-woods in the bag. You get like random stuff, like you said, Brooks. So I feel like anything that the spot that could be the 3-wood. So right after the driver, all the way up to on tour, probably a 4-iron. Like you get, it's a crapshoot sometimes. Yeah, most guys are by the book, but when you see something like let's call it, it's old. This is an old club.
718. I mean, it's
right there.
By equipment standards.
You don't need carbon dating. You know where that came from. Like it's right there.
And by equipment standards on tour, where again, the manufacturers would tell you as much as they can, they want to have guys in the newest, the latest product. But this is obviously not necessarily a high visibility area in the bag. Ooh, hey, what's a hybrid you playing in there, Tony? What, not the first question tour guys and gals are getting asked, but T100s throughout, and then Vokey Design SM9 wedges, nothing there. The putter.
What do we got?
Well, what a white hot Versa 1.
Is it
an Odyssey? He putts smarter, Tony.
Is it the new one? Is he putting smarter?
I don't think it's the new one. I think
So he might be putting. He could be putting smarter.
I mean, one would think he could putt a little smarter than he was, and I think this kind of proves it. So
how good of a putter was Beethoven? Do we know anything?
Phenomenal, I would imagine. That guy had great hands.
We know
I bet Beethoven had an unreal short game. That dude had good hands.
Just a hunch. All right.
Just a hunch. But season's over. Now we can have the 18 minutes of an off season, and we'll see you guys in January. That's it. Episode out. No. There's damage, Tony. Things are happening. Remember when we talked about TGL? We said, hey, maybe, shot makers, give it a year and a half, give it 2, maybe a couple seasons.
Ooh.
Well,
yeah, the Tomorrow Golf League is going to have to wait until at least tomorrow and then some.
And by tomorrow, we mean 2025.
Yeah. The dome collapsed, which sort of defeats the purpose of a dome. You don't want that. So
So, I mean, that's catastrophic for this. That was going to start in January of 2024. I know some people were really looking forward to it. I was looking forward just to see, like, again, there's money involved. There's a really solid lineup of players. I was going to watch at least the first episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, right, I'm the guy that barely watches any golf, but I'm like, all right, let's see how this plays out. Where you're going kind of like simulator screen to short hole course, if you will, and you're like, man, obviously, you don't need all the space that they use. Your indoor place down the road doesn't need stadium seating, probably because nobody's going to sit down and watch me play.
No one's showing up.
You wonder, like, could you get to the point where you do have kind of like, all right, you go to this, you're on the simulator screen, and then you turn around, and then you're chipping to an actual green and putting on an actual green, that kind of thing. So I was definitely curious to see how this would, not only how it would play out, but how it would present on television, where golf notoriously is not awesome. So bummer on that. That's a 1-year delay.
Will it have, whatever level of buzz is around it now and support and that, will it have that a year from now?
So my sense is this is not like the highest buzz happening in the world. So I think it, on a scale of 1 to 10, buzz probably at best is a 5. And so I think even with effectively a 1-year delay, I think you probably get back that. I think you can get back to a 5.
Don't think. Well, again, I think as long as you keep those people involved, if it includes Tiger and it includes Rory and JT, and you keep the lineup essentially intact of players.
Maybe John Rahm finds time to come back.
Maybe the Raminator. Maybe he does.
It just proves, like, if you give me something goofy, I'll wear it. It's just whatever.
Puma would have a thing or two to say about that, and they'd be right, without a doubt. So, hiatus. Sorry for those of you that were setting your calendars to TGL this winter.
I mean, I'm not the guy who gets excited about golf, and I was at least a 3 on the scale. So,
yeah, which is basically borderline crazy for you. So, Paul Azinger, people have heard that, lead analyst had been. You're out. Contract non-renewed. There were some people on the interwebs, thanking him for this. I'm like, I really found him to be insightful and these things.
Who
And I'm
are
like,
these people?
Are you mad?
Yeah,
I thought he was objectively brutal, particularly the last year or two. Didn't, in my opinion, really add a whole lot. So I'm glad. I'm from a viewership perspective, I think this is great. My question is this, Tony: who replaces him? Bring back Johnny Miller and his squeezy cheese?
No, let's not do that. It's funny. Okay. Like I read an article on Digest today where they threw out ideas, and I think some thinking, well, in the NFL, and again, I think it's probably tapered off. But when he first hit the broadcast booth, Tony Romo kind of changed things up a bit, right? And had that really interesting perspective. And you think, as a former player, Azinger would have that same perspective, but yeah, the issue there, I think his perspectives were outdated and not backed by, at best, what you would call modern insights, right? Very kind of old world, oftentimes inaccurate. And so, sort of like, who is, I like the idea of a caddy, right? And we talk about Bones Mackay as an option. Somebody like that who, I don't know that you necessarily had to play at an elite level, but has that kind of on-course insight.
He's been around an elite level for a long time.
But also kind of a modern data-driven mindset. Somebody from the decade Scott Fawcett school of, hey, this is course strategy and what you need to do. And I don't know. Right. I don't know how well-versed he is in that piece of it, but I always come back to Shane Bacon. I mean, I thought he was great when he was given a time on air, so I would love to see Shane get a real shot. But again, and I think, I don't know if you could control him, but entertainment value, somebody like a Michael Collins from ESPN, I would love to see that. Let Michael have at it, but
I kind of wonder if they would ever consider, I know as much as you need one lead analyst, and that's true, and I get that. If they would ever do it, because you mentioned the Tony Romo thing, which I think is interesting, because Tony Romo was unbelievable right out of the gate, and then he kind of started not actually preparing. I don't think as much. That's kind of started to wing it, and you can see the quality went way down, and that. But my point is, do you kind of rotate it? Do you have a couple different people that maybe sit in and give them? And isn't that what they see who works?
Isn't that what they tried with Jeopardy? And I'm just I don't know.
Yeah, and Ken Jennings was clearly the best. That was. They should have gone to Ken Jennings right away, right? Yeah, Blossom Russo. Yeah, she was kind of terrible. But I think yes, you got to go younger. I think you have to go somebody that has a lot of that on-course knowledge and experience that could be able to do that. Here's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is if you get anybody that has that level of ability and play and that's on there, are they going to be willing to be openly critical of people that are maybe their friends or former employers or things like that? That was one thing I loved about Johnny Miller was he gave 0 putts, right? That man was happy to criticize anybody and everybody, and it just seems like there's more of a friendly.
It felt like a lot of that was to remind everybody how good he was in his own.
Of course,
mind.
It was. It was self-aggrandizement. It was 1963. Oakmont. I'm Johnny Miller, but he pulled no punches. If he thought a guy threw up all over himself, he just said it. And is a Shane Bacon going to be able to do that? If it were like a Colt Knost or somebody like that. Are they going to be able to do that? Do you need, who has enough of that modern understanding of the game, etc., and still access to the players, but is going to call it like they see it without any apologies? Do you get somebody in there that's not Brandel Chambly, but has kind of a Brandel-ish?
Well, that would be a polarizing choice, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. He's certainly opinionated, and that's kind of what you want. He's knowledgeable, but yeah, I think you do need that, right? You sort of don't want to have like you want somebody who's fair, but you don't want somebody who's a cheerleader for the guys and sort of excuses everything, and it's not real.
You want somebody that's going to bring the viewer into it, tell you what they think, good, bad, or otherwise. That was a great play. That was a terrible play. Whatever the case is, they're going to have to find somebody. It's not going to take super, super long. I don't know. Maybe you have ideas out there. Maybe people you can let us know. It's a weird time in the equipment season, Tony. It's conforming list season, which is if you check your calendar, slightly predates release season, kind of, sort of. There's overlaps.
Kind of, yeah. And it's what Black Friday is to Christmas, right?
There you go. I like it. And in the after show, we're going to go deeper into each of these and some things. But quick highlights, Tony. What have we seen so far? What really intrigues you?
So we've seen the QI10 LS from TaylorMade. So this is logically a Stealth 2 replacement. So some interesting things we'll dig in on there.
Yep.
Seen, I guess, technically 3 new PXG drivers. Black Ops Tour, which some of you may remember. There was a shaft company several years ago called Black Ops. So I don't think anybody's going to confuse the two, but certainly, as you would expect, the military tie-in from PXG there. Because if you look at the list, right, it does have the 0311 designation. So maybe trying to get into plain language and not maybe confuse golfers with numbers all the time.
Right.
So we got that.
All right, so we got a little Black Opsness.
We've got some Dark Speed drivers, 3 models. So Cobra Dark Speed LS and the X, right? We got an X this time, and we've got a Max.
Looks like. And a Max. Yeah, X's, Max's, LS's.
Yeah, those look
got
good
that. We got the
from what we can see. And no Callaway yet.
There was a Kirkland on there.
Right, the Kirkland signature, your Costco driver. Interesting.
I am really, really interested in this one. And like you said, noticeably absent from conforming list right now. We haven't seen any Callaway stuff pop up on there yet, right?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if it shows up next week, honestly.
Why? Why next week?
They may hold it, try and keep it off the list, but I have some inside info here that Callaway kind of the guys that work in the company were not allowed to put it in the bag until Thanksgiving. So that was the cutoff, right? There's your inside info. So it may hit the list. You might start seeing additional photos trickle out. But yeah, I would think that whatever is Paradigm 2, not Paradigm 2, because it's definitely not going to be called Paradigm 2.
Not Paradigm again.
That's going to show up soon enough. But yeah, I mean, it's we forgot, right?
Oh, Ping, what did we forget?
G430 Max 10K.
The Moose. That's when you get a 10. Oh, yeah, if you ever have to card a 10 in our group, we call it the Moose. Got to write down the Moose on the scorecard. I don't think that's what the 10 is referring to in this one. Again, we'll talk more on it later.
If Ping is designed a driver to help you make more 10s.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Call that a little bit of a miss, just guys. So yeah, you're probably. I think maybe you're right. Probably not.
Real quick though, let's go back to very quickly to the Callaway situation, because typically, the conforming list, we often see those products either for sale or more likely in a tour event or something where they're going to be, seen, played, etc. So it shows up on the conforming list and then we see it in play. You're telling me with the Callaway situation, this is it might be on the conforming list because we got people playing in a Thanksgiving family tournament. Some of our employees have a family grudge match over Thanksgiving weekend. Let's get those things on there. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. When you're in Southern California, you can easily play golf on Thanksgiving. I think last day for us is Wednesday. It's supposed to be like 40. I might be done for the year, especially.
Yeah, our weather has unfortunately turned. I did play Friday. Now, that's looking like it's going to kind of be it until we inevitably reunite in Phoenix or Southern California here at some point.
Yeah, there's road trips coming up.
In
Trips.
The not too distant future. So, all right, we got that. That's good. When I say tensei, Tony, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? Word association. I say tensei. You say
7,500 different shafts that I can't keep track of.
Yeah.
Working on that.
They're working on that. We're talking about Mitsubishi here for a second. Mitsubishi's line of golf shafts. Rick Young, fantastic article. And a little bit of the history of some of Mitsubishi's shaft line, specific to tensei, which literally means transformation, or, again, get that kind of idea of something reincarnated, or materials and technologies that are transformative within the industry. It's been, I don't think this is unfair to say, a Ventus world, and everybody's been living in it. On the aftermarket side, on the tour side, but we know that product is done exceptionally well. And kind of what gets lost in the shuffle is maybe some other things that have also done really well. You look at the tour counts, look at the wins, just look at the data, and you go, wow, I kind of forgot maybe that Mitsubishi also makes some really, really good products.
614 wins on professional tours over
in the last 12 days.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanna, I mean, 2004-ish, right? The Diamante craze started, and a lot of times this was one of those kind of interesting things for people that are shaft geeks or golf geeks. You kind of go back to that, and a lot of people associated Diamante as like its own company, not like, oh, it's Mitsubishi, but it's Diamante. And arguably, you probably make a pretty good point that they, again, the golf industry is terrible at doing certain things, one of which is creating like uniform designations or coming to any sort of agreement on anything that you can translate. But this is one where that kind of started the whole whiteboard, blue board, red board conversation. And to date, 20 years later, we're still there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it has kind of created a standard, right? Like that, a low spin shaft, unless it's Project X and it's green,
right,
is going to be either black or white. Right? Yep. It's going to get one of those designations. You can be confident in just about any lineup that the blue is the one that gets tagged as mid launch and by extension mid spin, and then you get into the red, right? That's your high launch. So it is kind of a standard that got created there, and in some respects, right, pre-Tensei world, go back to that blue board profile. Mm-hmm. We talk about things like the ping answer, or the now the TaylorMade Spider, even, right? These in the putter space, these designs that the whole industry has kind of drafted off of, and like that blue board profile, and others will argue, well, we did it first, but that is the one that kind of everybody or most golfers are been around at all are familiar with, right? Like it's one of those that's just locked in the memory.
Yeah. And I think what gets lost in that a little bit too is, we talk about Tensei and admittedly, looking at Mitsubishi's shaft catalog prior to this year and prior to some of the website redesign was like going into your parents' attic and trying to understand like what is all of this stuff. Some of it was kind of categorized, some of it wasn't, but it was, the number of models and the names and the designations. It wasn't done in any sort of way to help consumers be able to navigate or figure out, that's what this one is. Okay, this one's over here, that one's over there. They're trying, right? They're trying to create more linear separation so people really understand.
Would you say they're trying to vanquish the confusion?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
I'll see myself out. Thank you.
Did they pay you to say that, Tony? Of course not, because that'd be a ridiculous thing. But so Diamana exists 20 years later. It's still here. And that is kind of we want to make a shaft as pleasurable, a hitting experience, if you will. You can take that however you want. You go a million different directions with that. Tensei is kind of like the concept car wing, if you will, of Mitsubishi, where, if they come out with a new material, which they do, Mitsubishi is a materials company ultimately, right? Worldwide. I mean, they do things that are far more important for a globe than golf shafts, but they develop a lot of materials. Other golf companies make their shafts using Mitsubishi's materials. So when they come up with something new and different, which they always are, it's probably going to show up in Tensei first, if it does make it into a golf shaft. It's kind of their, like I said, concept car, experimental, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in golf shafts.
Vanquishing limitations.
Thought you saw yourself out.
Just came back and I got
any other terrible dad puns you'd like to offer? But no, it's interesting. So yeah, Rick Young, great article there, Rick. Take a look. Let us know what you think. Do you have shoes, Tony? I need you to have your shoes on, or at least your checkbook open, because we're doing buy or sell.
I'm wearing slippers,
golf.
We can jog around a little bit.
You jog around a little bit. Shorter topics. Here we go. Number one, the Caddy Talk Cube video that we just put out. Pass or fail?
Good.
Buy it or sell it? What do you think?
So good. It is so good. Watch it. And I'm not just saying that because I work for MyGolfSpy. It's just really good. It's clever. It's fun. We got to be fun. I'll tell you.
It's clever. It's fun.
And let me interrupt speed golf for a moment, because I'm going to level with you. When I saw this product, I was like, okay, cool, right? Interesting concept. Never seen anything like this before. Triangulating. Right. Like, why do I need this? To me, I'm like, okay, solution in search of a problem. And then I didn't even know this was a thing. But 2 rounds of golf in a row. I'm down in Frisco at the Callaway event. And they do this thing where it's cart path only every other hole. And I'm like, what is this? I have never in my life heard of this in this whole golf course without apparent reason. I'm sure there is a reason, but no apparent reason why they do that. Cart path only. And so sometimes you got like a 45-minute walk to your golf ball if you play like I do. And so that's a situation where, hey, like all of a sudden this makes sense, because now I don't have to carry my rangefinder out to the middle of the fairway or to the other side and maybe even into somebody else's fairway and lose it or forget it or something like that. And then 1 week later, you and I are out at La Costa,
right,
playing the Golf with Cobra guys, and it's the same deal. Yeah. Like what the hell?
The world's gone mad.
Ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, if you're in one of these cart path only situations quite a bit, it makes a lot of sense. And the video is fun and funny.
The video is enjoyable. Fun. It is cool. Take a look. Let us know.
More entertaining than a PGA Tour event.
Well, this is fair.
Okay.
In your own fairway, Tony. We're only talking about being in your own fairway. We do this on Twitter.
I did that one hole. You were there. The last one. It was awesome.
I saw it.
Saved it till the end.
People aren't going to agree, and I'm not expecting you to. But should you get relief from a divot in your own fairway?
Yes.
What do you say? What do you say to the people? No, it's the rub of the green. Play it as it lies.
Yeah, rub of the green. It's just one of those things.
Number one rule of golf, Tony. Play it as it lies.
I just fundamentally, every golfer should have to play the same course or enjoy the same course. And, you don't know when that divot got there. So if the guy in front of me takes a big chunk on his shot and leaves a hole like this, I'm supposed to, if I get unlucky, right? Stranger things have happened. I end up in that divot, or the guy 3 groups behind me ends up in that divot. We have to play out of something that other guys didn't even run the risk of hitting into. I don't know. It's not a hill I'm going to die on ultimately. But yeah, I think it's stupid. Like something happened that created a hole. Like that's funny, right? Like
did happen.
So
something
a golfer A golfer creates a hole of some sort, a divot, small hole, shallow hole. You have to play out of it. If immediately adjacent to that hole, a burrowing animal leaves some kind of small hole, that one you don't have to play out of. So is a hole or not? That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm going with. If it's a hole, it's a hole. Doesn't matter how it got there. You don't have to play out of a hole.
People will comment on this. I know there's going to be anger, but my 2 questions, and these are just questions that I'd like answers to. Golf, you get free relief from ground under repair, right? How is a divot not the best example on God's green earth of ground that is currently being repaired? I think that's kind of a textbook example. So answer me this. And then the second question I have is, if we're not going to grant relief from divots and fairways, I'm totally fine with that. I'm good with it. But then can we please stop raking bunkers? Just questions.
There's some incongruities within the rule book. That's all.
I'm only asking questions. We wrote an article. Connor, our best ankles in the industry. Connor wrote an article. Cool shoe company. We've seen this before, where they take shoes. There's this one, Golf Spikes or whatever it was, where you just kind of screw spikes in that ruin your shoe. I hated that product. But this one looks really, really awesome. They basically re-sole your shoe, turn it into a golf shoe. So my question for you, Tony, is, if I gave you a coupon today and said, hey, you got a free coupon, you're going to go do this, what pair of shoes are you going to send them to turn into golf shoes?
How about I'm gonna go with a pair of Doc Marten boots.
Why?
I loved them back in the day. And look, I mean, if Nike is putting spikes on shoes that have no business being golf shoes, why not do it with an old school classic like a Doc Marten? So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Love it. Doc Martens. I struggled with this one, even though I asked the question. I asked it without having a really good answer, ready, because the easy thing is to say, okay, take a pair of really, really comfortable shoes, like a pair of running shoes or something. It's okay.
How about my UGG slippers here?
That I think you could. I think that might work, but I still haven't found somebody that makes a shoe necessarily that's as comfortable as you're a fan of these, the Hokas.
Yeah. Or you're on clouds, right? I know where you're going with this.
Yep, I'm an on cloud guy. That's what I'm going to send in. A real supportive running shoe. I can't imagine how comfortable that would feel to actually. I think maybe one of the closest that I can actually, before I tried on some of those Asics ones when they were not pretty. However, really, really comfortable. In that same vein, same guy, same Connor, wrote an article on victory. Not a lot of vowels in that word.
I'd like to buy a vowel before I buy the insoles.
Right? These are a carbon fiber plated kind of insole thing. Take it or leave it, Tony. A carbon fiber insole for your golf shoe.
I mean, I think there's some validity to the idea that the right insole can improve things, comfort, posture. Presumably that translates to golf performance. Connor didn't see it in his testing, and as we know, right, some of the promises are around swing speed. We always know that that's a percentage thing, and I mean, Christ, Connor, I think, what was the number? 42 miles an hour was his driver swing speed, something like that. Roughly. Give or take. Roughly. So,
Connor's swing wouldn't get a ticket on most of the roads around your house.
So, I mean, maybe it's one of those things. Your mileage may vary, but I didn't see anything in Connor's testings to suggest these are definitively gonna help you swing faster. So, that kind of money. If the objective is to swing faster, instead of insoles, I'd probably put the money towards a stack system or a ripstick or something that has a documented history of actually working.
I like it. Yeah, I mean,
that's me.
I just filed under that category. I think it's people need to look anywhere they can for little incremental benefits. And people, if you're going to gladly pay $600 for a new driver that may or may not actually do anything for you, be willing to look in all these other little areas for little pieces of improvement. And it might be an insole, it might be new grips, it might be, wearing the right socks, like features. It could be a lot of things. But finding all these little incremental areas of improvement, I'm for it. As a concept, I'm for it. Whether the Victory insoles fit that description or not, I'm not 100% sold on that piece, but at least it's an option. At least it's an option. Right? It's an option. It's an option.
Shoe smarter.
Shoe smarter. We're going to be right back. After show, we're going to dive into some of the conforming list stuff. We got Mushmouth over here. He's going to be good to go. Hang on just 1 second. We'll be right back. He's back. All right, we're back. So, like we said, Tony, it's embargo season / and you and I both have kind of similar sentiments around embargoes. And for the people out there that maybe don't know what an embargo is, it is kind of what it sounds like, where, we'll get details about products, as do other people in the media. There are things that, hey, we can't have people just deciding when and where and how to release this information. So you can't say anything until 9 a.m. on January 22nd or whatever it is. Okay, no problem.
We shall send you a text message.
We will send you a text message. There are companies that have, I think my favorite one is when the company that started selling products on their own website, that product, before we were allowed to publish the article about said product. But anyway,
I'm recording.
It's one of these kind of bizarre, kind of in-between situations where, yes, there are a lot of things about all these products that we're going to talk about right now that we already know, but we can't tell you. Sorry, it's embargoed.
We know stuff. We know some stuff.
Stuff pops up on the USGA conforming list. What's the conforming list, Tony? Let's tell people what that is first. What role does the conforming list play? Since like every Monday, I know right when you wake up, 5:45 a.m., you're popping on, seeing if there's anything new.
Yeah, conforming list is basically as the name suggests, a list of products that have been deemed conforming by the USGA. So effectively, product that has been cleared for tournament play. So it includes drivers, golf balls, and even irons and wedges, which have to be tested to make sure that the grooves conform.
And it's not just like a rubber stamp process. Like, oh, okay, well, we got to do this. There is like I said, a process to it, and not every product passes. We saw this happen with a Wilson driver not that super long ago, and that created some consternation. But it has to show up on there before people put it in place, so you can be reasonably certain. Once you see something show up on the conforming list, somebody's either putting that club in play like immediately, right away, or probably in the not super too distant future. So, long story short, we have a bunch of stuff that came up on the conforming list. We put this on an article. There's been numbers of in-hand photos of some of these products because they're being played in tournaments.
It's funny, like I didn't even check this morning, so now I'm scrambling. I'm like, oh my God, did the Not Paradigm 2 hit the list? But it did not.
I did not see it. So, like we said, we got Cobra, Ping, TaylorMade, Kirkland, PXG, and conspicuously absent Callaway. But we're going to go through each of these and tell you, based on what we see in those pictures, maybe some thoughts, things that we can share. We're not going to share specs, details, materials, the things that we do know that we can't tell you yet. We're not going to share those. But we'll start with Ping, Tony. What do we see there, and what does this make you think about?
I'm thinking you need to understand how the alphabet works, but okay.
No,
Let's start with Ping.
Did I ever commit to going alphabetically?
No, you did. You didn't. That's on me.
Not.
That's unrealistic expectations.
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, what we have with Ping is perhaps, and it's a low bar, right? The USGA is not here trying to take artistic photographs that clearly show the product. It's strictly for documentation purposes. But my God, this is a really bad dark photo. So we don't see much, but what you can kind of see is that the back weight appears to be fixed. Doesn't have like that full scale weight track. So, that seems to be, if you think 10K, right? Is it, I joked because they did, what's the brand they did the super high end apparel collab with?
Oh yeah. The one down in Atlanta or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, selling t-shirts for $350 or something like that.
It's right up your alley.
Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe they're doing like a $10,000 driver with gold inlays and things like that, but that's not typically how Ping does things. So my guess is 10K refers to MOI.
Yeah, I kept calling it Hideki. That's not what it is. It's spelled Hideoki.
Hidioki. There we go.
Hidioki, I believe, is how it's pronounced. But
so anyway, it's probably not a $10,000 driver, which makes MOI the next likely on that list. So super high MOI and a fixed back weight would certainly support that notion. And then the other thing that stands out here is in the USGA designation for the crown, the USGA kind of makes note of any markings on the club.
Right.
And so we have Carbon Fly Wrap, which was previously only available. That speaks to the crown technology. Previously only available in the LST. So,
correct.
Kind of the common sense with what you're seeing, right? Fixed weight, apparently, Carbon Fly, 10K. So I'm guessing that this really pushes MOI above and beyond what you already get with the G30 Max.
Mm-hmm. So here's my question then, and with that is, let's just look at the Ping driver lineup then for a second. You have, just within the G430 family, right? You have LST. That's the low spin model. It's designated as such. You have SFT.
Ping low spin, right?
Ping low spin, which isn't necessarily the same as in Ping's low spin tends to be slightly higher than what we tend to see with like really low spin models from others. So just, bear that in mind. You have SFT, which is good for our slicers. You have the Max model, right? And I don't know if this is replacing a model or not or whatever. Let's just assume it isn't. Let's just say they're adding this model to it. Does this start to cannibalize the existing Max?
Yeah, maybe, but who cares? Like that, I never understood this where brands are like, this is the product that we want to sell the most of, almost arbitrarily. Like, this is our flagship, this is our signature, whatever it happens to be. And so we want to make sure that we don't sell more of something else or so much of something else that it looks like we sold less of these. And I'm like, who cares, man? You made it, you sold it. It's a win. And so even this is, if this proves to be, look, if this cannibalizes G430 and Ping makes more money than they did before the Max existed, that's a win. So, or excuse me, the Max 10K. I don't know why we would want to bother to get wrapped up in that. I think, if it grows sales, great. And I think probably just knowing how Ping operates, even if it kind of keeps sales relatively flat along the lineup, maybe just a small uptick. If they feel like they're doing a better job fitting more golfers or providing an even better fit for golfers, I think they would see that as some sort of victory. So
And since we're not going alphabetically here at all, let's go next to PXG.
Okay.
PXG. Let's go to PXG. Like you said, Black Ops.
That is actually alphabetically from
I know. See, that's why you're catching on to my little game here. PXG, Black Ops, we know. Again, 0311.
We got Black Ops Tour 1, and then Black Ops Tour 3.
Which makes you feel like something's missing, potentially a 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, Black Ops, the standard model, looks like a kind of a 1-for-1 replacement with the 0311 current model Gen 6. So Well, you see, like PXG is what they do really well is try and keep the weights relatively forward. These, especially toe side, look like they're more. I would describe it as mid placed, and a fixed back weight on the underside on the sole. Not necessarily what I would call the rear, but the back sole. So I think that's probably kind of, maybe it's a 1-for-1, but again, 3-weight system, weight apparently pushed back a little bit farther, maybe trying to be more true middle of the road with that, which is made possible by the potential addition of a tour model.
Right.
And what stands out on the tour model, again, the weight's pushed a little more forward. Yep. I suppose, again, it's tough to be precise from these photos. The text suggests that you do have a rear-mounted third weight, but the thing is, like, these front weights are closer together as well, which suggests lower MOI and probably lower spin, which is exactly what you would come to expect from anything that gets stamped with the with the tour designation. And then it's tough to distinguish between the 1 and the 3, other than some obvious design features on the sole. But weight placement looks similar, so I expect maybe only one of those becomes the final real deal. But yeah, I would expect to see. I would guess still that they'll jump to 3 models, with the tour being kind of a low spin, the Black Ops being kind of in the middle, and I'd be shocked if they got rid of the XF unless they feel like with the current one they're kind of like, hey, this fills our standard and our X model. That's kind of where the 0311 Gen 6 is now. Maybe they're going to go the other way and say, hey, this is our standard and also XFs, and now we have a low spin. But I would be surprised if we didn't see an XF in the lineup, because I just think they're almost right there with Ping in terms
it's
of
become
really
a sweet spot for them, and something where they
do
kind of ran ahead.
They do a really good job on in that space with a high MOI driver that's not super crazy spin. So yeah.
Well, and I think the thing that kind of has me intrigued a little bit on the PXG side is we've seen a progression of their metalwoods getting better, right? I mean, particularly from the first several generations, which had some issues.
Boy, that original one, they should have called it the HS. Like, it's just like, yeah, if you are looking for the highest spin driver ever.
Yeah, and so, it took them some time, and they've gotten there. And I would say that, from Gen 5, particularly to Gen 6, this is a very high quality product that can, performance-wise, start to go toe-to-toe with the major companies. So that's where I'm going to be intrigued on this iteration, to see if it takes yet another step toward that direction, because based on what we're seeing with the other companies, they're all finding incremental improvements as well. And so does this kind of do that? And totally unrelated to any of those, Kirkland, what in the name of 5-gallon buckets of mayonnaise is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of figured this was coming. And
of course.
As we know, like, they have putters and wedges, and the irons have been on the USGA list forever. And so here you go, Kirkland driver. Thus far, what is on the USGA list at this point is only shows a 10.5 head.
Right.
And so immediately, like, look, this is going to be probably a single loft, single shaft. I would expect, if we've learned anything from the golf ball, that it's going to be high spinning. I don't. If you're looking for something that's going to challenge the industry leaders, I would be beyond shocked if it pans out. And look, I mean, it's going to be cheap. Right. You can bank on that, and that's going to be a major selling point. And it's going to have an audience.
What do you think? If you had what would it be a price point that you would stop and go?
$349. It's cheap now, maybe $299, something in that range. $299, $349. Any more than that, and I think you have to ignore it without some demonstrable performance. Because again,
I want to see this thing at $199.
You can get a PXG Gen 6 right now for $200.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I think
if I had $200 to spend on a driver, that's probably where I'm going. I'm not going into Costco and hoping, hey, maybe the new ones are in. Because again, I may not be able to get exactly what I want in terms of shaft upgrades that way, but I know I'm going to get a flex and probably a shaft that works with me. I'm going to get a loft that works for me. So I got a ton of options there. So I think if you're Costco, you have to come in cheap knowing that, PXG from time to time is going to undercut you. So, maybe they come in at 200. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I mean, ultimately it's going to have an audience if for no other reason than we get these emails, we get these comments that say, look at this Kirkland signature golf ball, plays exactly like a Pro V1. I don't notice a difference. And I'm like, well, I got a lot of data that says there's a pretty significant difference here.
Depends what you mean by difference. If
you were a golfer who legitimately, looks downrange, I don't know, for whatever reason, cannot tell the difference between a signature golf ball and a Pro V1, I'd be willing to bet you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a signature driver and a TSR2. So, have at it, I guess. But in terms of pure performance, data-driven results, I'm not anticipating this is going to change the world.
I'm just excited to see.
Prove me wrong, Costco.
Prove me wrong. We'll test it.
I'd love it. It would be awesome.
I would love to see, though. Buy a driver, get a free bucket of mayonnaise. Not many people can offer.
I think most people would be happy with one of those hot dogs that I've heard good things about. I don't know.
Phenomenal.
We
chicken
don't have,
bake. I'm a big fan of the chicken bake.
We have a Costco up here. Yeah.
Chicken bake. I love it. Cobra.
Last ones, right? Dark Speed X, Dark Speed.
We've seen the pictures.
We've seen the drivers.
We've actually seen the drivers.
Let's not play super stupid here.
We've hit the drivers. 3 models. Again, it looks like Cobra's holding to kind of their cadence, what we've seen with
1, 2, 3,
Aerojet.
The LS, the Max, and the one in the middle.
Mm-hmm. LS, low spin, likely, right? Maximus, middle.
Maximus, forgive us with the looking at, again, we're allowed to talk about what we see in the photos, and what we see in the photos in the Max is a heel-toe weighting system, which we know gives you the choice between maximizing forgiveness or cooking in some anti-slice forgiveness that way. And so,
right, bringing more weight to the heel, right, makes something a little more draw bias. Theoretically, for most golfers, more weight in the heel means less weight in the toe, which means as that club's coming into impact, it's easier for that toe to catch up. It's not doing this, where you're going to slice off the planet. It's a little easier to go, whoop, get it back to square. I will say, Tony, comments across the interwebs, people seem to be inclined to say, hot damn, that thing looks good.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
Again,
I think it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, we can't talk too much about what they've done here, but I think historically, Cobra has tried to gain attention in various categories by being the loudest in the room, and by loud, I mean like bright colors, contrasting accents, like
Amp-Cell.
Well, Amp-Cell, and remember, going back to Christ, I don't even remember the name now, right? But I know it was black and yellow, right? That was pre-Rad Speed.
Yep.
Speedback. Yep. There we go.
Speedback.
So those kind of things to get attention and hear. And, we've seen some of the pictures. Jonathan Wall from golf.com had them. I mean, this is, they look good. They look clean, kind of no nonsense. I hope that kind of the really clean, let's just keep it dark.
And speedy.
Yeah. And not try and, bling it out. Just keep it really simple, but still kind of badass looking, right? Little Darth Vader kind of inspiration here. That
I'm in on the darkness.
Yeah, I just hope the looks here are enough for people to go, all right, I like the way this looks enough where even if I think I'm going to buy a TaylorMade or a Callaway or a Titleist or a Cobra or a Ping or any of the drivers that invariably make it into the hit bay before a Cobra, I hope that this is kind of what propels golfers to go, I'm going to try this. Yeah. Because you and I have been big on Cobra for a while. Aerojet was really, really good. Yeah. And looking, let's talk, the last thing to talk about here is visible. So fair game, visible. In the USGA photos, the LS model has moved from a 2-weight system to a 3-weight system. And so now, in addition to that front-back neutral fade configuration, and that's kind of what they're showing here as well, right? Neutral and fade. There was no draw. This is traditionally not a driver for somebody who struggles with a slice. It's just not. It's not for that guy.
Right. Has it? Yeah.
But what they have given us with the Dark Speed LS is that back weight position again. And so now you can drop, so it looks like a 12 gram. You can throw that 12 gram in the back. That's going to give you a boost in MOI. You know, it's not going to turn it into anything like what we expect the G30 Max 10K to be. Right. But it's going to give you a little bit more forgiveness. It's going to give you a little bit higher launch. It is probably going to give you just the slightest tick of draw bias, if you even want to call it draw bias. But it's going to help you, square it up a little.
Less
bit
fade bias, maybe.
Yeah. So I think I'm really intrigued by that. You know, I ended up, you saw me when I was out there. I had my winter swing on, battling shoulder problems. It was ugly, so I didn't hit the LS great, to say the least. But I'd love another crack at it because, again, I think reasonably for anybody who swings above, I would go so low as 100 miles an hour. Sure. Which isn't obviously not slow, but I just think that based on what we saw, that people in that swing speed 1+, especially get 110, 115 for sure. Like those guys are going to swing Cobra drivers faster. And
you may get a couple cheap miles an hour just by having something that's
here's a little bit more insider info. Because you don't hear this a lot. You know, everybody talks about their aerodynamics and how good they are, right? It's become a big talking point, especially as we've kind of fallen off the map with CT. Like we're pushing limits. There's wiggle room, and there's wiggle room for distance through added forgiveness, making that sweet spot a little larger, all of that stuff. But you're seeing a shift a little bit to aerodynamics and shaping and trying to get speed, not from the head itself, but from the golfer, right? Not from the face, but from allowing the golfer to swing it faster. And like when you're in conference rooms and you're talking to people and they're being honest, like they're going to tell you that over the past few years, Cobra's been better at the aerodynamic piece than just about anybody. I would say everybody else. They've been the leaders in that. And, you know, again, it's a thing that not everybody notices, and it doesn't benefit every golfer. And if you can't get the speed, Cobra's like, all right, you're not everybody, right? You don't swing fast enough to get a benefit. We're just going to try and give you a really good driver anyway. Right. But, you know, for higher swing speed players in particular, again, I think you got to try it. Yeah. Because of the potential to gain speed. But back on topic here, I think giving that third weight position back in an LS is a little tweaky huge. There. Yeah. Last one. I thought we covered. Oh no, there is one.
The red face is gone. I didn't see a red face. We had a TaylorMade sighting. QI. Now again, the blue doesn't come through on the conforming list pictures, but yes.
Some people are like, why are they all just black? Because color is missing.
Because color. Rory, right, putting it in place. He's been testing it for a while.
He was not the biggest fan of stealth too, was he?
I don't think he was. QI 10 LS.
Yeah.
The LS part we'll take care of right away. Again, for all the things golf industry can't get together and make a decision on, LS is invariably lower spinning. What's this QI10 stuff?
I have no idea.
Tell me. What is this?
You know, and you look at it.
Nonsense.
So here's, I have no idea because we have not been in the room with TaylorMade yet. We don't have the deep dive, but TaylorMade historically has been like, we're going to take something the industry's doing. We're going to put like this little twist on it and make it our own. So like when everybody was talking about MOI and TaylorMade drivers didn't have a lot of MOI, and they're like, well, we have EMOI. And if you use our calculation,
effective MOI,
we can get you. Yeah, well, using our math, we can get to a number we like. And so I'm not saying like this is anything is just pure nonsense by any stretch, but I do wonder if like QI is like some sort of play on AI. That's all I got. That's all I got right now, and I don't know what the. What
if you had? Hey, this is fun. Let's play this game. So instead of artificial intelligence,
and it almost like even look at the sole and the shape of the Q. It could be an A. So That's all I got.
If it's a Q, then instead of artificial, it's quantifiable intelligence.
Ooh.
It's, I don't know.
Quantifiable art is kind of like the opposite of artificial in a sense.
And again,
let's roll with that.
We are totally guessing.
If this isn't what they're doing, it's what they should have done.
This is what they should have done. I went right away to, because I used to teach social studies, taught middle school and high school for a long time, and it made me think of, Chinese philosophy, medicine, kind of this vital life force, energy type of centrist ideology. Maybe that was something. All I know is it's that, and the blue face appears to have replaced the red face, so we're still carbon facing, it looks like, because you can see at the very bottom of the face it says carbon, so it appears that we're still in the carbon wood area.
Right, it says carbon wood, right? And so
it does.
I think. And TaylorMade said we're not making titanium face drivers anymore, and time anything is subject to change, but
so
we'll see. And I like that they've kind of moved away, presumably, from Plus to kind of that industry standard LS. Like most everybody knows what that means. That's a bonus. And then looking in the weight system, this is intriguing because it looks like it's tough to say and see again, but it kind of feels and looks like it's partially recessed. And so that weight moves a little bit farther than the image suggests. And again, like looking at the USGA photo, like the end of the track is already disappearing, but there's clearly room for it to slide more. So you have like a partially covered weight track, which, maybe there's some function and benefit to that. Maybe it's just visual and helps keep some of the mud out. I don't know. But, a little different.
And we're guessing at a lot of these things because either we don't know or we can't tell you yet. So apologies on that. But this is part of the season. This is part of embargo season. This is the stuff that we go through, and like you said, over the next weeks and months, as we so what do we go? We leave Sunday, so Sunday after Thanksgiving, back out to Titleist to see some things that you would probably use in a short game area. I would likely we're going to go see those things. Then we're going to hop over to Ping.
Over to Ping. Home. Let's see. Come home Friday. Wheels up again on Tuesday to head to
Wheels up Tuesday out to one of the Carolinas.
Yeah.
I don't know, one of the Carolinas.
I obviously, for all the discussion we had, I definitely can't tell them apart.
Tony definitely needs a geography lesson. But we'll be out with TaylorMade that week.
Why are there so many towns with the same name in both? Like, come on. Do you want to be a separate state or not? Why?
We'll discuss that in
just carbon copied.
One's north, one's south. They're Carolinas. Anyway, there is a lot going on. We will be back. Enjoy your Turkey Day, everybody. May the tryptophan hit you
hard
and often. Until next time, we out.
Golf smarter. Putt smarter.